When you're writing a story, how much do you think about developing a story world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fundamental for stories. It doesn't matter whether it's fantasy or like a realistic drama. Like you're always going to be building a world, around these people that's believable. Doesn't necessarily have to be true, but you want to try to make it believable. And yeah, I just think that's always in question. It's like, what is the world? What are the rules that are happening in this world? Like, I feel like that's a fundamental that you're always trying to achieve.
What are some essentials for building a story world?
I'll call them guidelines. I don't like rules or like, I think like the rules of the world itself. This is a guideline, but the rules of the world itself. For instance, like you do X, Y is gonna happen. It's just like this is how this world works. For instance, like if you're making a fantasy, it's like, well, if they say this holding the staff, then like, or the wand, then this is gonna happen, right? It's just like now the audience understands, like in this world, like, magic, right? Or in another one where it's just like, no, this is the real world. Or it's like, well, the rule is like there's no magic in this world, right? It's just like, so I think understanding that and kind of attacking that is always like it's crucial, like, or like as a guideline. It's like you can do what you want, but I feel like stuff like that, these are like guidelines for you to rely on, that you can always fall back on.
How much of the world that you built with the angry black girl and her monster started with the script?
All of it. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I couldn't say all of it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it starts with the script. You're describing things, and you want to make sure everyone involved gets the message. Not the message of the story, but just like the message or the vision of what is trying to be created. That's what you hope. At least that's what I hope when I write the script, and then obviously the keys or the creative keys come on and bring that to life and bring their own spin on it. But they're all jumping off of the script itself, so.
What is the story world?
The story world, I mean, it's to me, it's grounded in reality as much as it can, possibly be. It's like to me, or the believability that it's happening, next door. And to me, the world that it needed to take place in, the reason was because I needed to see where the fiercest results of like systemic pressure is happening. This isn't a like a one-off or whatever. It's just like this is the result of systemic pressure. So to me, this was the best place to showcase that.
And did you get a choice as to the location? You wanted a certain town, a certain feel?
Yeah, and it was this one. Like they, because originally I thought, I wanted to shoot in LA, but we were location scouting and seeing, a bunch of different options, and then we came here, and I was like, this is the spot. This is pretty much exactly what I wrote in the script. So yeah.
And so, how far apart were these different locations? Because it takes place in some apartments, and then there's other parts. How far away geographically were they?
Like in the story or in real life?
In real life, yeah. How close?
They were actually fairly close to each other, like literally down the street. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of when Fakaria goes into her, I guess you would call it studio, or her, she's like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And so how much did you get a say in that world, and how much were you already envisioning writing on the page? Because that was a very vivid world.
Yeah.
It was beautifully created.
Yeah. I mean, that was due to our production designer, shout out to Mark Bankins. Hire that guy.
Okay, yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, I told him like this, this shouldn't look like she has access to stuff, because she don't. She's in high school. No high schooler would have access to like this kind of this madness unless they were, some kind of billionaire or something like, I don't know. But even then, why would, unless the parents are just completely neglectful, it's like, it's just, there's too many dynamics or whatever, right? So I was like, this needs to be a space of and she's inventive, but she's using what she can find, you know.
Your set designer was Mark Bankins. How much did you work with him to create her lab? And this lab was at her home or the apartments?
It was in the complex, yeah.
Complex?
Yeah, no, me and Bankins, we had long conversations about it, about what was, you know, the color space, how it was built, what, you know, what was in there, and long, you know, a lot of long conversations about the direction of, you know, where it was going, what it was going to be. So,
Did you storyboard and did you sort of draw out this lab?
no, I can't draw worth of nothing. So like it was me just like speaking and saying and giving some kind of reference images. You know, that was what I could do.
Okay, so you saw it in your head and then you kind of conveyed that to Mark.
Yeah.
Was there pushback on, well, it should be this way, that way, it's too fantastical, or this was all about sort of suspending disbelief that this young woman would have a lab like this?
Nah, like I mean, it's a Frankenstein story, so you know, it's like there's gonna be I believe there'll be some leeway there, you know, and I think when you buy into her brilliance, you know, if you buy into that, then you buy into what she can accomplish, you know, so yeah.
How long did it take to build the set of the lab?
I can't speak for Bankins. I'm not sure. I think I don't know. It couldn't have been too long. I'm hoping it was just like, I think it was just like a couple weeks. I think, you know, for the sets that we built, I think it was a couple weeks, but yeah.
And how long was the actual film shoot?
About 20 days.
20 days
Yeah.
in North Carolina. Was this in the summer?
Yep. June last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the weather was decent, or?
We hit some thunderstorms and stuff. Some of that happened down there, but it was hot. Yeah.
Were there any other important elements to building the story world?
I don't think so. I mean, I think like, you know, just understanding the players and understanding the world she's inhabiting and who she's interacting with and, you know, her life. I think all those things were important, yeah.
And I like what you said, how with the story world, even though there's not really any rules on how to do it, but that you're establishing these are sort of like the things in the world. So if A happens, then B is going to follow, and you keep consistent with that.
Yeah, try. I think that's a fundamental guideline. You know, it's like that. I think as artists, like, you know, it's like, you know, always fall back on, you know, that you want to, and you know, that I want to, at least I'd like to achieve, you know, I'm trying to achieve. You know, I think an audience can feel robbed when stuff stops making sense. It can take you out of it, you know, unless that's your goal. You know, if your goal isn't to have them fall out of the movie or whatever, then I think guidelines like these can help you, you know.
How did the way you filmed the movie bring the story world to life?
I mean, that was a combination of Daphne and I. Shout out to Daphne. Hire her too. DP, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, excellent work.
Yeah, she was phenomenal on this. She did such a good job. Great job. And I think it came down to just always dialing in on character motivations and what shots are going to give us the most impact for what we're seeing. You know, like I try to think about that stuff. You know, of course, there's like trick shots that you want to do or whatever, but you also want that to be involved with the emotional like trajectory of the story as well, I think. You know, and I think, I mean, I hope the visuals impacted it in that way.